Admiral Dayho stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship Terran Pride, watching the massive holographic display that showed the solar system. Red dots appeared at the edge of the screen, thousands of them. Each dot represented an alien warship bigger than anything humanity had ever built. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Communications Officer Boram. Her voice was steady, but Dayho could see the worry in her eyes. "It's coming from the largest ship in their fleet." "Put it through," Dayho ordered. He straightened his uniform and faced the main screen. The image that appeared made him clench his jaw. The alien was massive, standing at least 8 feet tall. Its skin was dark purple, almost black, with silver markings across its face. 4 arms moved with mechanical precision as it adjusted controls outside the camera's view. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "I am Emperor Vectar of the Hegemony Empire. I address the primitive species known as humans." The alien's 4 eyes focused directly on the camera. "Your pathetic world lies in our path. You will surrender immediately and allow our fleet's free passage through your space." Dayho felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his face calm. Around the bridge, his crew members exchanged worried glances. The Emperor continued. "Do not think to resist. We have conquered 847 worlds. Your small fleet of metal toys cannot stand against the might of the hegemony. You have 72 of your hours to submit, or we will pacify your world by force." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of computers and life support systems. "Get me a direct line to President Jae-sung," Dayho said, "and patch in all fleet commanders." Within minutes, the screen showed the faces of Earth's leaders. President Jae-sung sat in his office in Geneva, his gray hair neat despite being woken, in the middle of the night. Around him appeared the faces of other military commanders and government officials. "You all heard the transmission," Jae-sung said without greeting. "What are our options?" General Yoon-ju spoke first from her command center in Seoul. "Mr. President, our intelligence estimates put their fleet at over 3,000 ships. Our entire navy has maybe 200 vessels, and most of those are patrol boats or cargo ships with weapons strapped on." "What about our orbital defenses?" asked Minister Park from the lunar colonies. Commander Min Seo answered from her position on Aegis Prime, the largest defense station orbiting Earth. "We have 47 weapons platforms around Earth and Luna. Good against pirates or small raiders, but against this?" She shook her head. "We'd be shooting pebbles at a mountain." Dayho studied the tactical display. The alien fleet had stopped just outside Pluto's orbit, far enough away to be safe, but close enough to show their strength. "What do we know about their technology?" Dr. Kang Min, Earth's top expert on alien civilizations, appeared on screen from his laboratory. "From the ships we've seen so far, they're at least 50 years ahead of us in most areas. Better weapons, stronger shields, faster engines. But, sir, there's something else." "Go on," the president said. "These aren't explorers or scientists. This is a military empire. Our contacts with other alien species have told us stories about the hegemony. They show up, demand surrender, and if a world refuses, they destroy it completely. No survivors. No negotiations?" The room fell quiet again. Everyone understood what that meant. "Recommendations?" President Jae-sung asked. "We could try to negotiate," suggested Foreign Minister Lee. "Maybe offer them mining rights or—" "No." The president's voice was firm. "I've read the reports about what happens to species that submit to the hegemony. They become slaves. Their worlds become resource mines. Their children are taken to serve in alien armies. He looked directly at the camera. That will not happen to Earth. Admiral Daeho felt a surge of pride. What are your orders, sir? President Jae-sung stood up, behind his desk. Send this message to the alien emperor. Tell him that Earth does not bow to empires. Tell him that humanity has fought wars for thousands of years, and we didn't survive by giving up when things looked bad. Tell him that if he wants our world, he can try to take it. Sir, General Yunju said carefully, they have 3,000 ships. This isn't a fight we can win. The president smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. General, my grandfather fought in Korea when the odds were just as bad. My great-grandfather fought in World War II when half the world was burning. Humans have never won by having the biggest army or the best weapons. We win by refusing to lose. Daeho nodded. I'll send the message, but sir, we need to start preparing immediately. If we're going to make them pay for every inch of space, we need to use every advantage we have. What advantages? Minister Park asked. You just said they have better everything. They have better technology, Daeho agreed, but they don't know how humans fight. They've conquered 800 worlds, but I'll bet none of those worlds had spent their entire history at war with each other. None of those species grew up on a world trying to kill them every day. Commander Minseo spoke up from her station. Admiral, I'm seeing movement in their fleet. Smaller ships breaking off from the main group. Scouts, Dr. Kang-min said. They'll want to study our defenses before the main attack. Let them come, Daeho said. Captain Hyunwoo, take your squadron and show these aliens what human ships can do. On the screen, Captain Hyunwoo saluted from the bridge of his destroyer. Yes, sir. My pilots have been waiting for this. As the various commanders signed off to prepare their forces, President Jae-sung remained on the line with Admiral Daeho. Admiral, I want you to understand something, the president said quietly. I'm not sending you out there because I think we can win this fight. I'm sending you because someone needs to show the galaxy that humans don't kneel. Understood, sir, Daeho replied. We'll make them remember us. Make them remember that Earth is not for sale, not for rent, and definitely not for taking, Jae-sung said. 72 hours until they attack. Use that time well. The transmission ended, leaving Daeho alone with his thoughts and his crew. Outside the ship's windows, he could see the lights of Earth in the distance, blue and white and beautiful. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of the solar system, an empire waited to destroy everything he had ever known, but they would have to go through him first. All ships, he said into his communicator. This is Admiral Daeho. Begin immediate combat preparations. Send a message to every human in the fleet. Today we find out what we're really made of. Fleet Commander Rathul examined the holographic display showing the human solar system. The primitive world called Earth hung in the center. A small blue dot surrounded by tiny metal objects that the humans called their fleet. He almost felt sorry for them. Commander, said his aide, a younger officer named Kexalan, the Emperor wants a progress report. Tell His Greatness that pacification will begin on schedule, Rath-ul replied. These humans have perhaps 200 ships total. Most appear to be converted cargo vessels. This will take less than a day. Rathul had commanded conquest fleets for 30 years. He had seen species with powerful energy weapons, others with advanced shield technology, and some with ships that could disappear from sensors, but they all fell the same way. The hegemony simply brought more ships than anyone could fight. "Sir, our scout squadron is reporting contact with human vessels," the communications officer announced. "Put it on screen," Rathel ordered. The image showed space near the gas giant called Jupiter. 5 human ships moved in a tight formation toward a group of hegemony scouts. The human vessels were small and angular, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. They looked dangerous, like space-going predators. "Analysis?" Rathel asked his weapons officer. "The human ships appear to be destroyers, roughly equivalent to our light cruisers. However, their technology is clearly inferior. Our scouts should easily—" The officer's words were cut off as the human ships suddenly changed direction. Instead of approaching in a straight line like any rational military force, they scattered in different directions. One ship dove toward Jupiter's largest moon, another climbed high above the plane of battle, and the remaining 3 split left and right. "What are they doing?" Kexlan asked, confused. Rathel frowned. "It appears to be some kind of tactical maneuver, but it makes no sense. They're dividing their forces against a superior enemy." On the screen, the hegemony scouts moved to engage the closest human ship. Their plasma cannons fired bright green beams across space. The human vessel twisted and spun, avoiding most of the shots. The few that hit sparked against energy shields. That flared bright blue. "Their defensive systems are adequate," the weapons officer reported. "But they cannot possibly—" His sentence ended in surprise as the human ship that had climbed above the battle suddenly dove down, firing missiles at the hegemony scouts from above. At the same time, the ship near Jupiter's moon used the gravity well to slingshot around and attack from behind. "Impossible," Rathel muttered. "How are they coordinating so precisely? There's no time for communications at these speeds." The answer became clear as his sensors detected something unusual. The human ships were transmitting data to each other constantly, but not through normal communication channels. Instead, they seemed to be using some kind of direct neural link between their crews. "Sir!" the sensor officer called out urgently. "The humans are all connected somehow. They're sharing targeting data, tactical information, even emotional states. It's like they're fighting as one organism instead of 5 separate ships." Rathel watched in growing amazement as the human destroyers executed maneuvers that should have been impossible. They moved like a school of fish or a flock of birds, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be without needing to ask. The hegemony scouts, designed to fight conventional enemies who followed logical tactical patterns, found themselves completely outmatched. They had better weapons and stronger shields, but they couldn't hit targets that moved with such unpredictable coordination. "Sir, we're losing ships," reported the communications officer. "Scout Group 3 is requesting immediate reinforcement." "Send 2 heavy cruisers," Rathel ordered, "and tell them to maintain maximum range. I want to study these human tactics." On the tactical display, he watched the 2 additional hegemony ships join the battle. They were each 3 times the size of the human destroyers with weapons that could punch through any known shield system. The humans should have retreated immediately. Instead, they attacked. The lead human ship, designated Indomitable according to intercepted communications, flew directly at the heavy cruisers. Its captain seemed to be named Hyunwoo, and he was, transmitting to his crew with what the translation computers called fierce joy. "He's happy?" Kexlan asked, staring at the translation. "His ship is about to be destroyed and he's happy?" Rathel didn't answer. He was watching something that made no sense according to every military manual he had ever read. The human ship Indomitable was flying straight into the concentrated fire of two heavy cruisers. Its shields flared and sparked as plasma beams hit it again and again. Pieces of armor flew off its hull, but it kept coming. "What is he doing?" the weapons officer asked. "His ship is heavily damaged. Any rational commander would retreat." The answer came as the Indomitable suddenly rolled to one side, revealing that its entire port weapon array had been charging for one massive shot. The concentrated beam of energy hit the closest heavy cruiser right in its main reactor housing. The hegemony ship exploded in a ball of white fire. "Impossible!" Wrath-Ol shouted. "That was a suicide attack! No commander would sacrifice his ship for a single enemy vessel!" But even as he spoke, he knew he was wrong. The human ship hadn't been destroyed. It was badly damaged, trailing atmosphere and debris, but it was still fighting. And now the other 4 human destroyers were closing in on the remaining heavy, cruiser-like hunters surrounding wounded prey. "Sir," the communications officer said quietly, "Captain Vorth is requesting permission to withdraw. He says the humans fight like mad creatures. He's never seen anything like it." Wrath-Ol studied the tactical display. In any normal battle, the hegemony's superior technology would have won easily. But these humans didn't fight normal battles. They fought like their world depended on it, which he realized it did. "Grant permission to withdraw," he said finally. "All scout groups fall back to the main fleet." As the remaining hegemony ships retreated, Wrath-Ol watched the human destroyers regroup. The Indomitable was barely functional, but its crew was already working to repair the damage. The other ships moved to protect it while it recovered. "Sir," Kexlan said hesitantly, "should we report this to the Emperor?" Wrath-Ol considered his options. The Emperor expected easy victories. Reporting that a handful of primitive ships had defeated a hegemony squadron would not be welcome news. "Tell His Greatness that human resistance is moderate," he said finally. "We may require additional forces for pacification." "How many additional forces, sir?" Wrath-Ol looked at the tactical display again. The human ships were still out there, waiting for the next attack. Their crews were probably tired and scared. But they hadn't run. They hadn't surrendered. They had fought like demons and won. "Double the attack fleet," he said quietly. "And tell Admiral Corkson to prepare his battle group for immediate deployment. These humans are going to be more trouble than we thought." As his ship turned away from the battle zone, Wrath-Ol wondered if he was making a mistake. The humans had only 5 ships in that fight, and they had destroyed 2 hegemony vessels while losing none of their own. If 5 human ships could do that much damage, what would 200 do? He pushed the thought away. The hegemony had conquered 847 worlds. Earth would be number 848, no matter how fiercely its defenders fought. But for the first time in his 30-year career, Fleet Commander Wrath-Ol wasn't completely certain of victory. Dr. Kang Min worked frantically in his laboratory deep under the Swiss mountains. Around him, pieces of alien technology lay scattered across metal tables. His team of scientists moved between the workstations, running tests and taking measurements. Doctor called his assistant, Dr. Na Young. "We've finished analyzing the power core from the destroyed scout ship." Kang Min looked up from the alien computer he was studying. "What did you find?" "It's remarkable," Na Young said, her voice filled with excitement and worry. "Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly standardized. Every ship uses the same type of reactor, the same weapon systems, the same computer networks." "That makes sense for a military empire," Kang Min replied. Standardization makes maintenance and logistics easier. Yes, but there's something else. Look at this. Na Young brought up a holographic display showing the internal structure of the alien computer system. Everything is controlled by artificial intelligence. The organic crew members don't actually pilot the ships or aim the weapons. They just give orders to the computers. Kang Min set down the alien device he was holding and walked over to examine the display. You're saying they don't manually control their ships? Not just that, Na Young continued. Based on what we found in the computer memory, most of their military tactics are also programmed. The computers analyze a situation and choose from a database of approved responses. That explains why they were so confused by Captain Hyun-woo's tactics, Kang Min said thoughtfully. Their computers couldn't predict what he would do because no rational military database would include suicide attacks as a valid option. Meanwhile, 500 kilometers above Earth's surface, General Yoon-ju studied the same information from her command center aboard the orbital station New Seoul. Around her, tactical officers analyzed every piece of data they could gather about the alien fleet. General, said Major Sung-ho, we've confirmed Dr. Kang Min's findings. The aliens rely heavily on automated systems, but that doesn't help us much when they have 3,000 ships. Yoon-ju nodded grimly. Numbers are still numbers, but maybe we can find a way to use their weaknesses against them. She turned to the communications officer. Get me Engineer Tae-hyun. I want to know what our people are doing with the captured alien technology. The screen lit up with the image of Engineer Tae-hyun aboard the space station New Seoul. Behind him, teams of technicians worked on strange-looking devices that seemed to be part alien technology and part human engineering. General, Tae-hyun said without greeting, we've been working non-stop since the battle. The alien weapons are more powerful than ours, but they're designed to work with their computer systems. We can't just bolt them onto our ships. What about their shields? Yoon-ju asked. Same problem. Their technology is integrated in ways that don't match our systems. Tae-hyun paused to wipe sweat from his forehead. But we've found something interesting. Their computers are extremely sophisticated, but they're also very rigid. They follow programmed patterns and can't adapt quickly to new situations. How does that help us? Tae-hyun smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Human technology is different. We build things that can be modified, adapted, improved. Our ships aren't as advanced as theirs, but they're flexible. We can change our tactics, modify our weapons, even rebuild our ships during battle if we have to. General Yoon-ju felt a spark of hope. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we stop trying to match their technology and start using ours in ways they can't predict, Tae-hyun replied. Their computers will analyze our capabilities based on what they've seen so far. But what if we show them something completely different? Back on Earth, President Jae-sung met with his advisors in the underground command center beneath Geneva. The room was filled with screens showing the positions of both fleets. The alien force had moved closer, now positioned near Saturn. What's our status? The president asked as he entered the room. Foreign Minister Lee looked up from his console. Sir, we've received communications from 12 different alien species. Most are offering to mediate negotiations between us and the hegemony. What kind of negotiations? Surrender terms mostly. They seem to think we should give up now to avoid a massacre. Lee's voice was bitter. A few offered to accept human refugees if we want to evacuate some of our population. President Jae-sung was quiet for a moment. What about military support? Any species willing to help us fight? No, sir. They're all terrified of the hegemony. Some of them have been conquered themselves. Others are too far away to help even if they wanted to. The president turned to Defense Minister Park. What about our preparations? All civilian populations have been moved to underground shelters. The lunar colonies are on full military alert. Our fleet is positioned according to Admiral Dayho's battle plan. Park hesitated. Sir, we have maybe 18 hours before they attack. Are you sure we shouldn't consider— Consider what? Jae-sung interrupted. Surrendering? Becoming slaves? Letting them destroy everything our species has built? He shook his head firmly. Minister, my ancestors didn't fight their way off a hostile world just so I could hand it over to alien conquerors. Back in space, Admiral Day-ho stood on the bridge of Terran Pride, watching the tactical display. The alien fleet was massive, a dark cloud of ships that seemed to blot out the stars. His own fleet looked tiny in comparison, scattered throughout the solar system according to his battle plan. Admiral, said Captain Min-ho, his aide, incoming transmission from Admiral Korksan of the Hegemony. Put it through, Day-ho ordered. The alien that appeared on screen was different from Emperor Vector. This one had scars across its dark skin and wore battle armor instead of ceremonial robes. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of military experience. I am Admiral Korksan. I command the Hegemony Battle Fleet 15. Your species has shown unexpected resistance to our initial contact. The alien's 4 eyes studied Day-ho carefully. I respect warriors, even primitive ones. I offer you one final chance to surrender with honor. Day-ho straightened his shoulders. Admiral Korksan, I appreciate the courtesy, but humanity's answer remains the same. Earth is not for sale. Then you will die for a world that cannot be saved, Korksan replied. My fleet consists of 1,500 heavy warships. Your entire species has perhaps 200 vessels. This is not courage, human. This is suicide. Maybe, Day-ho admitted. But here's something you might not understand about humans, Admiral. We've been committing suicide for causes we believe in for thousands of years, and sometimes we take our enemies with us. Admiral Korksan was silent for a moment. You are either the bravest species I have encountered or the most foolish. Probably both, Day-ho said with a grin. Would you like to find out which? The transmission ended. Around the bridge, Day-ho's crew prepared for battle with calm efficiency. They all knew the odds. They all knew they were probably going to die. But they also knew that every alien ship they destroyed would be one less ship threatening Earth. All ships, Day-ho announced over the fleet communication channel. This is your admiral speaking. In a few hours, we're going to face the largest military force in the galaxy. They have better weapons, stronger shields, and more ships than we can count. He paused, looking around at his crew. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know that we've been fighting impossible odds since the day our species learned to make tools. They don't know that losing is not in our vocabulary. The communication channel crackled with responses from across the fleet, captains and crew members from dozens of ships all saying the same thing. They were ready. Remember, Day-ho continued, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to show every species in the galaxy that freedom is worth dying for. When this is over, win or lose, they'll remember that humans don't kneel. Admiral Korksan's fleet began moving toward Earth, engines burning bright against the darkness of space. The final battle was about to begin. The Battle of Luna began at 0347 Earth Standard Time, when Admiral Korksan's fleet divided into 3 attack groups. The largest force headed directly for Earth, while 2 smaller fleets moved to attack the moon colonies from both sides. Colonel Jin-A watched the approaching alien ships from her command bunker on Luna's surface. The moon's low gravity meant that any battle here would be fast and deadly. Her defenders had prepared for this moment for months, turning the lunar landscape into a fortress. "All units, this is Colonel Jin-A," she spoke into her communicator. "Enemy contact in 15 minutes. Remember your training and trust your equipment. Today we show these aliens that humans don't give up our homes without a fight." Above the lunar surface, the space around Earth's moon filled with the glow of approaching engines. The hegemony ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming like metal sharks in the darkness. They were beautiful and terrible, each one capable of destroying a city. Lieutenant Wu Jin sat in the cockpit of his experimental fighter, the Razor. The small ship was humanity's newest design, built specifically for the kind of high-speed combat that larger vessels couldn't handle. His neural interface linked him directly to the ship's systems, making them an extension of his own body. "Control, this is Razor Squadron," Wu Jin transmitted. "We're reading multiple incoming targets. Request permission to engage." "Permission. Granted, Razor Leader," came the reply from Colonel Jin-A. "Show them what human pilots can do." Wu Jin pushed his fighter's engines to full power and dove toward the alien fleet. Behind him, 11 other pilots followed in tight formation. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1, but that had never stopped humans before. The alien ships opened fire first. Green plasma beams cut through space like deadly lightning. Most alien species would have fled from such overwhelming firepower. Instead, Wu Jin did something that made the alien targeting computers malfunction with confusion. He flew directly into the weapon's fire. The Razor twisted and spun, rolling through the deadly beams with moves that seemed impossible. Wu Jin's neural interface let him react faster than any normal pilot could. He didn't think about where to fly next. He felt it, like a dancer moving to music only he could hear. "This is insane," muttered his wingman, Lieutenant So Young, as she followed him through the alien fire. "We're flying into a shooting gallery." "That's the point," Wu Jin replied, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "Their computers expect us to fly away from danger. When we fly toward it instead, they don't know how to respond." He was right. The alien targeting systems had been programmed to predict enemy movement based on logical behavior. Ships should avoid weapons fire, not dive into it. The computers struggled to calculate targeting solutions for enemies who refused to follow the rules. Wu Jin's fighter reached the alien formation and fired its missiles at point-blank range. 2 hegemony cruisers exploded in balls of fire. The lieutenant spun his ship around and accelerated away, already looking for his next target. But the victory was temporary. More alien ships kept coming, and the human fighters couldn't be everywhere at once. On Luna's surface, Colonel Jin-A watched her defensive positions come under bombardment. "All units, brace for impact," she ordered, as the first alien plasma beams hit the lunar fortifications. The moon's surface erupted in geysers of rock and dust. Human defensive turrets fired back, their projectile weapons sending streams of metal into space. The aliens had better shields, but human weapons had been designed for one purpose: punching through armor and destroying whatever was behind it. Admiral Daeho watched the Battle of Luna from his command ship, knowing he had to make a terrible choice. His fleet could rush to help the lunar defenders, but that would leave Earth's orbital stations defenseless. Or he could stay to protect Earth and let Luna fall. "Sir," said Captain Minho, "Colonel Jin-A is requesting immediate reinforcement. Her defenses are being overwhelmed." Daeho studied the tactical display. The alien attack on Luna was fierce, but it was also a distraction. The main alien fleet was still approaching Earth. If he moved his ships to help Luna, the planet itself would be defenseless. Send the message to all commanders, he decided. Luna must hold on its own. We cannot abandon Earth's orbital defenses. It was the hardest order he had ever given. On Luna, Colonel Jin I received the message and nodded grimly. She had expected this. The defense of Earth had to come first, even if it meant sacrificing the moon colonies. All units, she transmitted to her forces, we're on our own. Hold your positions and make every shot count. If we're going down, we're taking as many of them with us as possible. The battle raged across Luna's gray landscape. Human soldiers in powered armor fought alien landing parties in the crater fields and underground tunnels. In space above, fighters and defensive platforms exchanged fire with alien warships in a deadly dance of death. Lieutenant Wu Jin found himself facing 3 alien fighters that had broken through the defensive perimeter. His Razor was damaged, trailing smoke and sparks, but it was still flying. His neural interface showed him dozens of targeting solutions, but none of them looked good. Razor Leader, you've got multiple hostiles on your tail, warned Lieutenant So Young. Get out of there! Negative, Wu Jin replied. I've got a shot at their command ship. He was looking at the largest alien vessel in the Luna attack fleet, a massive battlecruiser that was coordinating the entire assault. If he could damage its command systems, it might disrupt the alien attack, but reaching it would mean flying through the concentrated fire of dozens of alien ships. It was a suicide mission. Razor Leader, don't do it, So Young pleaded. You'll never make it through. Wu Jin thought about his family on Earth, about his friends who had died in the first alien attack, about the children hiding in underground shelters while aliens tried to destroy their world. Then he pushed his damaged fighter to maximum speed and dove toward the alien battlecruiser. For Earth, he said quietly. The Razor flew through a storm of plasma fire. Alien beams cut pieces off its hull and overloaded its shields. Warning alarms screamed in the cockpit as system after system failed. But Wu Jin kept flying, his neural interface keeping the dying ship under control through pure willpower. He reached the alien battlecruiser with his fighter falling apart around him. At the last second, he fired every weapon he had left directly into the ship's command tower. The explosions tore through the alien vessel's bridge, killing its commander and destroying its tactical systems. Captain Yuri of the heavy cruiser Resilience saw Wu Jin's sacrifice and knew what she had to do. Her ship was heavily damaged, its engines failing and its weapons mostly destroyed, but it was still moving, and it still had one weapon left. All crew, this is the captain, she announced over the ship's communication system. Abandon ship immediately. That's an order. Captain, what are you doing? Asked her first officer. Something that needs doing, Yuri replied calmly. She sealed the bridge and fired the ship's emergency thrusters, sending the Resilience on a collision course with the alien flagship. The massive hegemony battleship tried to move out of the way, but it was too close and too slow. The Resilience struck the alien vessel like a battering ram, its mass and velocity tearing through the enemy ship's hull. Both vessels exploded in a fireball that lit up the lunar sky. The destruction of their flagship broke the alien attack on Luna. The remaining hegemony ships pulled back, their formation shattered, and their commander dead. Colonel Jinne and her defenders had held, but the cost had been terrible. Thousands of human soldiers and pilots had died defending the moon. The lunar colonies were in ruins, their domes cracked and their cities burning. This is Luna Base 2. Earth Command, Colonel Jinne reported, her voice exhausted. We've repelled the alien attack, but we're in no condition to help with the main battle. Good luck, Earth. Make our sacrifice count. Admiral Deho received the message as his own fleet moved to face the largest alien force approaching Earth. The Battle of Luna was over, but the war for humanity's survival was just beginning. All ships, he transmitted to his fleet. Luna has shown these aliens that humans don't break easily. Now it's our turn. Remember what we're fighting for, and remember that every enemy ship we destroy is one less threat to our world. The main alien fleet was almost within weapons range of Earth's orbital defenses. The decisive battle was about to begin, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Emperor Vectar himself arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system aboard his flagship, the Dominion Eternal. The massive vessel was 5 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that could crack planets. Behind it followed the Grand Fleet, over 2,000 ships that had never known defeat. "Status report," the Emperor commanded as he entered the bridge of his flagship. His 4 arms moved with controlled anger as he studied the tactical displays showing the destruction at Luna. "Your Greatness," replied Fleet Commander Rathel. "Human resistance has been more significant than anticipated. We have lost 17 ships in preliminary engagements." Emperor Vectar's 4 eyes fixed on Rathel with deadly focus. 17 ships? To primitives with metal toys? The humans fight unlike any species we have encountered, Rathel explained carefully. Their tactics are unpredictable, and they seem willing to sacrifice themselves to destroy our vessels. Our computer systems cannot calculate responses to their behavior. Then we will overwhelm them with numbers, the Emperor declared. No amount of primitive courage can stand against the full might of the hegemony. Prepare for planetary bombardment. On Earth, President Jae-sung stood in the underground command center, surrounded by screens showing the approaching alien armada. The sight was terrifying. A cloud of enemy ships so large it blocked out entire sections of space. "Sir," said Defense. "Minister Park, we're receiving another transmission from the Emperor." "Put it through," Jae-sung ordered. Emperor Vectar's image filled the main screen. The alien ruler wore battle armor covered in the symbols of conquered worlds. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute power. "Humans of Earth," the Emperor began, "I am Vectar, ruler of 847 worlds. Your pathetic resistance has cost me 17 ships and delayed my schedule by 3 days." His voice grew colder. "For this insult, your species will suffer, but I am not without mercy. Surrender now, and I will preserve your cities. Continue to resist, and I will turn your world into glass." President Jae-sung stepped forward, his gray hair neat despite the stress of the past few days. "Emperor Vectar, I am Jae-sung, elected leader of the United Earth Government. Your offer is noted and rejected." The Emperor's expression didn't change, but the air around him seemed to grow colder. "You would condemn your entire species for the sake of pride?" "No," Jae-sung replied firmly. "I would preserve my species' freedom for the sake of principle. You offer us slavery disguised as mercy. We choose to remain free, whatever the cost." "Then you choose extinction," Emperor Vectar said. "When your cities burn and your children cry for mercy, remember that you could have prevented it." The transmission ended. President Jae-sung turned to his advisors. "How long until they reach our orbital defenses?" 6 hours, replied Admiral Deho's voice from the communication system. "All ships are in position. Earth's orbital platforms are fully armed and ready." High above Earth's surface, Commander Do-hyun made final preparations aboard the orbital defense station Aegis Prime. Around the planet, 47 similar stations hung in space like metal moons, each one packed with weapons designed to protect humanity's homeworld. "All stations report ready," announced Lieutenant Hai Jin from her position at the tactical console. "Kinetic bombardment platforms are standing by for your orders." Du Yun nodded grimly. The kinetic platforms were humanity's secret weapon, massive railguns hidden throughout the asteroid belt and disguised as mining equipment. For 20 years, they had waited for this moment. "Not yet," Do Yun said. "Let them get closer. We'll only get one chance to surprise them." In the asteroid belt, engineer Su Jin worked frantically to bring the last kinetic platform online. The massive weapon was basically a giant cannon that fired telephone pole-sized pieces of metal at incredible speeds. Without explosives or advanced technology, just raw kinetic energy that could punch through any shield ever invented. "Platform 7 is ready," she reported to Earth Command. "All systems show green. We can hit anything within range of Jupiter's orbit." The platforms had been built in secret over 2 decades, each one disguised as a mining station or research facility. The aliens had no idea they existed, which was exactly what humanity needed. President Jae-sung's final message to his people was broadcast on every remaining communication channel. His image appeared on screens across Earth, from the underground cities to the orbital stations. "My fellow humans," he began, "in a few hours, our world will face the greatest threat in our species' history. An alien empire wants to take our freedom, our dignity, and our future." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "They have made one crucial mistake. They think that because we are young and small, we are weak. They think that because they have conquered hundreds of worlds, they can conquer ours." The president's voice grew stronger. "But we are the children of a world that tried to kill us for 1,000,000 years. We are the descendants of survivors who fought through ice ages and plagues and wars. We are human, and we do not surrender." He stood straighter, his voice carrying the conviction of his entire species. "Earth recognizes no emperor, no hegemon, no master. We are free, and we will remain free. To every human listening, remember this. We fight not because we can win, but because we refuse to lose. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity truly means." The transmission ended, leaving millions of people in their underground shelters with the knowledge that their leaders would never abandon them. Admiral Dae-ho stood on the bridge of Terran Pride, watching the alien fleet approach. His own ships were scattered throughout Earth's orbital space, each one positioned according to a battle plan that had taken months to develop. "All ships," he transmitted to his fleet. "This is Admiral Dae-ho. In 30 minutes, we will engage the largest military force ever assembled. They expect us to fight like every other species they have conquered, with logic, with caution, with the hope of survival." He smiled grimly. "They're about to learn that humans are different." Captain Minho looked up from his console. "Sir, the alien fleet is beginning their final approach. They're moving in standard conquest formation." "Perfect," Dae-ho replied. "Signal all ships to implement Battle Plan Alpha." "And Do-hyun?" "Yes, sir," came the reply from the Orbital Defense Commander. "Wait for my signal, then show them what 20 years of preparation looks like." The Emperor's grand fleet moved toward Earth like a storm cloud of metal and death. Their shields glowed with energy, their weapons charged and ready. They had done this hundreds of times before, and it always ended the same way. But as they approached Earth's orbital space, they were about to discover that humans had been preparing for this fight since the day they first looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. The siege of Earth was about to begin, and with it, the most intense space battle in galactic history. The battle for Earth began when Commander Do-hyun gave the order that changed everything. All platforms, he transmitted across the hidden network. This is Aegis Prime. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. Fire at will. Throughout the asteroid belt, 47 kinetic bombardment platforms that had been disguised as mining equipment for 20 years suddenly revealed their true purpose. Massive rail guns swiveled toward the approaching alien fleet and fired. The projectiles were simple pieces of dense metal, each one the size of a telephone pole. But they were moving at a significant fraction of light speed, carrying more kinetic energy than nuclear weapons. When they hit with the force of small asteroids. Emperor Vector watched in shock as his forward ships simply vanished. No explosions, no energy weapons, just metal rods that punched through shields and armor like they weren't there. "What is this?" he demanded. "Where are those weapons coming from?" "Unknown." "Your Greatness?" replied his weapons officer, panic creeping into his voice. "Our sensors show no enemy ships in the asteroid belt, but something is firing at us from there." "Impossible! Our intelligence showed only mining stations in that region." Fleet Commander Rathel studied the tactical display with growing understanding. "Your Greatness, I believe the humans have been preparing for this battle longer than we thought. Those mining stations, they're weapons platforms." The Emperor's 4 eyes blazed with fury. "Deception! No conquered species has ever dared such treachery." "Sir," interrupted the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human admiral." Admiral Daeho's image appeared on the screen, standing calmly on his bridge while explosions lit up space around him. "Emperor Vector, I thought you should know. Those mining platforms have been waiting 20 years for you to show up. Welcome to Earth." The transmission cut off, and immediately the human fleet attacked from all sides. Chief Engineer Soo-jin worked frantically in the engine room of the defense station New Seoul as alien plasma beams hammered their shields. Around her, repair teams performed what their alien observers would later call impossible engineering feats. "Hull breach on Deck 7, shouted Technician Ki Young over the noise of alarms and explosions. "Seal it with emergency foam and keep the power flowing," Soo-jin ordered, without looking up from her console. She was rerouting power from non-essential systems to keep their main guns firing. An alien beam punched through their shields and tore a hole in the station's main reactor housing. Any other species would have abandoned the station immediately. A damaged reactor meant certain death. Instead, Soo-jin grabbed a radiation suit and a toolkit. "What are you doing?" Ki-young asked in horror. "Fixing it," Soo-jin replied simply. "This station doesn't stop fighting until I say it stops fighting." She crawled through the damaged reactor housing while radiation levels that should have killed her instantly registered on her suit's sensors. But human engineering had always been about making broken things work, and Soo-jin had been fixing impossible problems her entire life. 20 minutes later, the reactor was stable and the station's guns were firing again. Captain Dong-wook commanded a squadron of retrofitted cargo ships that had been turned into what the military politely called kinetic delivery vehicles. In plain language, they were suicide bombers, cargo ships packed with explosives and guided by volunteer crews. "Squadron leaders, this is Dong-wook," he transmitted to his pilots. Target selection is your choice, but make it count. Every alien ship we destroy is one less threat to Earth. The cargo ship Iron Will accelerated toward an alien heavy cruiser, its engines burning bright against the darkness. The pilot, Lieutenant Yu Jin, had volunteered for this mission knowing she wouldn't. "Return. This is Iron Will," she transmitted calmly. "Beginning attack run. Tell my family I kept my promise." The alien cruiser fired everything it had at the approaching cargo ship, but Yu Jin used every trick she had learned in years of flying through asteroid fields and space storms. The Iron Will twisted and rolled, avoiding most of the weapon's fire. When it hit the alien ship, the explosion lit up space for thousands of kilometers. Dr. Hai Wan made the discovery that changed the course of the battle while working in her laboratory aboard the orbital research station. She had been analyzing the electromagnetic signatures of alien shield technology when she noticed something odd. "Computer, run a comparison between alien shield frequencies and Earth's natural electromagnetic field," she ordered. The results made her gasp. "That's it! That's their weakness." She immediately contacted Admiral Dae-ho. "Sir, I found something critical. The alien shields use a frequency that resonates with Earth's magnetic field. If we modulate our weapons to match Earth's electromagnetic signature, their shields will actually amplify our attacks instead of stopping them." "How long to implement?" Dae-ho asked. "Our neural networks can spread the information to every ship in seconds," Hai-wan replied. "But sir, this only works near Earth. Once they figure it out, they'll adapt. Then we use it now, while we can," Dae-ho decided. "Send the frequency data to all ships immediately." The effect was dramatic. Human weapons that had been barely scratching, alien shields suddenly began punching through them like paper. Across the battlefield, alien ships found themselves vulnerable for the first time in the battle. Emperor Vectar watched his casualties mount with growing rage and disbelief. "How many ships have we lost?" "Over 200, Your Greatness," Rathel reported quietly. "The humans are fighting with technology and tactics we've never encountered." 200 ships! The Emperor roared. "To primitives! This is impossible!" But it wasn't impossible. It was human. Major Sang-ho led a team of Marines in powered armor as they boarded an alien cruiser that had been disabled by the bombardment platforms. The aliens fought desperately to repel the boarders, but they had never faced humans in close. "Combat! Move! Move! Move!" Sang-ho shouted as his team blasted through the alien ship's corridors. The aliens were stronger and had better weapons, but they fought like soldiers following orders. Humans fought like people defending their home. The boarding action lasted 3 hours and ended with the alien ship's surrender. It was the first hegemony vessel ever captured intact by an enemy force. As the battle raged around Earth, reports began reaching other species across the galaxy. The impossible was happening. A primitive world was not just resisting the hegemony empire, it was winning. On distant worlds, conquered species looked up at their alien overlords with new expressions. If humans could fight the empire and win, maybe freedom was possible for everyone. Admiral Dae-ho watched the tactical display as his fleet continued to hold against impossible odds. They had lost many ships, and Earth's orbital defenses were heavily damaged. But they were still fighting, and the aliens were paying a terrible price for every kilometer of space. "Sir," Captain Min-ho reported, "the Emperor's flagship is moving to engage us directly." Dae-ho nodded. "Signal all remaining ships. This is it, the final phase. If we can damage or destroy the Emperor's ship, their entire fleet might retreat. And if we can't?" Daiho looked out at the blue and white world hanging in space behind them. Then we keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight with. That's what humans do. The Dominion Eternal approached through the burning wreckage of the battle, its massive weapons charging for the final assault. Emperor Vectar himself had decided to end this humiliation personally, but he was about to learn that humiliating humans only made them more dangerous. Admiral Daiho stood on the bridge of Terran Pride as the Emperor's flagship approached like a mountain of death through the burning wreckage of the space battle. The Dominion Eternal was larger than anything humanity had ever built, its weapon systems capable of destroying entire fleets. All ships, Daiho transmitted across the human fleet. This is Operation Prometheus. Every vessel, every platform, every weapon we have left, target the Emperor's flagship. We have one chance to end this war. Captain Minho looked up from his tactical console, his face grim. Sir, we have 17 ships still combat capable. The Emperor has over 300 vessels protecting his flagship. Then we'll have to be creative, Daiho replied. Signal all squadron leaders. Tell them to implement Plan Omega. Plan Omega was insane by any military standard. It required perfect coordination between dozens of damaged ships with no room for error. It meant sending the entire remaining human fleet against the most heavily defended target in the galaxy. It was exactly the kind of plan that humans excelled at. Major Xiong Ho received the transmission while leading his Marine squad through the corridors of the captured alien cruiser. All units, prepare for boarding operations. We're taking this ship directly into the Emperor's fleet. Sir, said Sergeant Nayun, checking her weapon, that's a suicide mission. Maybe, Xiong Ho replied, sealing his combat helmet. But if we can get close enough to the Emperor's ship, we can cause some real damage. Besides, when has suicide ever stopped humans from doing what needed to be done? His Marines laughed grimly and checked their equipment. They all knew they were probably going to die, but they also knew that their sacrifice might save Earth. On the Emperor's flagship, Fleet Commander Rath-Ul watched the approaching human ships with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. Your greatness. The humans are attacking directly. All their remaining vessels are converging on our position. Emperor Vectar's 4 eyes blazed with fury. Excellent! We will destroy them all at once and end this embarrassment. Sir, their approach vector doesn't make sense. They're not trying to engage our escort ships. They're flying straight through our formation toward us. Then they're making their own destruction easier, the Emperor declared. All ships, concentrate fire on the human fleet. I want them obliterated. The space around Earth's orbital zone erupted in the most intense battle in galactic history. Human ships dove through walls of alien weapons fire, their hulls glowing from energy impacts and their crews performing miracles just to keep flying. Captain Hyunwoo pushed his damaged destroyer Indomitable through a gauntlet of alien plasma. Beams. Half his ship was gone, but the other half was still fighting. Engineering! How are our engines? He called over the ship's communication system. Holding together with prayers and welding wire, sir, came the reply from Chief Engineer Taemin. But we'll get you where you need to go. That's all I ask, Hyunwoo said. He looked at his tactical display, where the Emperor's flagship grew larger by the second. All hands, brace for ramming speed. The Emperor watched the approaching human ships with growing alarm. They weren't trying to win a conventional battle. They were trying to reach his flagship regardless of cost. Ship after ship was destroyed by his fleet's weapons, but the survivors kept coming. This is madness, he muttered. No species fights like this. Perhaps that's why no species has ever defeated them on their home world. Rathel observed quietly. Major Seung-ho's captured alien cruiser punched through the Emperor's defensive perimeter, its hull scarred by weapons fire but its engines still burning. In the ship's hangar bay, his Marines prepared for the most dangerous boarding action in military history. "Remember," Seung-ho said to his troops, "we're not trying to capture the Emperor's ship. We're trying to disable it long enough for our fleet to get through. Plant charges on everything that looks important and cause as much chaos as possible." "What if we don't make it out, sir?" asked Corporal Min-soo. "Then we don't make it out," Seung-ho replied simply. "But we make sure Earth remembers what we did here." The captured cruiser rammed into the Dominion Eternal's hangar bay at full speed. The impact threw both ships off course and tore massive holes in the Emperor's flagship. Through the breach, Seung-ho and his Marines poured into the alien vessel, like a force of nature. The Emperor's guards had never faced human soldiers in close combat. They were stronger and had better armor, but they fought with the discipline of creatures who had never known desperation. Humans fought with the fury of a species defending its home. "All Marines, split into teams," Seung-ho ordered as they fought through the ship's corridors. "Team 1, take the reactor control room. Team 2, target the weapon systems. Team 3, with me, we're going for the bridge." Admiral Dae-ho watched his fleet sacrifice itself ship by ship to reach the Emperor's flagship. Each vessel that was destroyed took dozens of alien ships with it, but the cost was terrible. "Sir," Captain Min-ho reported, "we've lost 14 ships. Only 3 vessels still combat-capable, including us." "Then we make them count," Dae-ho said. "All remaining ships, concentrate on the Emperor's vessel. Everything we have." The Terran Pride dove toward the Dominion Eternal, its weapons firing continuously. Behind it, the last 2 human ships followed, their crews knowing they were flying into certain death. On the Emperor's flagship, Major Seung-ho and his Marines fought their way toward the bridge. The alien corridors were filled with smoke and the sound of combat as human soldiers battled alien guards. Charges placed in the reactor room, reported Team 1 leader. Secondary explosions should cascade through their power grid. Weapons control is ours, added Team 2. We've locked them out of their main gun systems. Seung-ho smiled grimly as he placed his final explosive charge on the bridge blast doors. All teams, 30 seconds to detonation. It's been an honor serving with you. The explosions tore through the Emperor's flagship like chain lightning. Power systems failed, weapons went offline, and the massive vessel began to drift helplessly through space. Emperor Vector found himself trapped on his bridge as human explosives destroyed his ship around him. "Impossible!" he raged. "How did primitives penetrate the most advanced warship in the galaxy?" Through the smoke and sparks, Major Seung-ho appeared in the doorway, his armor scarred by battle, but his weapon still steady. "Your greatness," he said with a mock bow. "Allow me to introduce you to human ingenuity." The Emperor raised his own weapon, but Seung-ho was faster. The Major's shot sent the alien ruler crashing to the deck of his own bridge. Admiral Dae-ho saw the Emperor's flagship beginning to drift and knew the moment had come. "All ships, final attack run, target the Emperor's bridge section." The 3 remaining human vessels dove toward the crippled alien flagship. Their combined firepower, concentrated on the ship's command center, tore through the weakened hull and destroyed the bridge completely. Emperor Vector, ruler of 847 worlds, died in the explosion that ripped apart his command center. Across the alien fleet, the news spread instantly. The Emperor was dead. His flagship was destroyed. The humans somehow had won. Fleet Commander Rathel, now the highest-ranking hegemony officer still alive, stared at the wreckage of the Emperor's ship in shock. Around him, his officers waited for orders. "Sir," said the communications officer. Quietly, "The fleet is requesting instructions." Rathel looked at the tactical display. His forces still outnumbered the humans hundreds to one, but morale was shattered. They had just watched a species of primitives kill their emperor and destroy the most powerful ship in the galaxy. "Signal all ships," he said finally. "General retreat. We're leaving this system." "Sir, the Hegemony Council will demand an explanation." "Then, they can come here and fight these humans themselves," Rathel interrupted. "I've seen enough." As the alien fleet began its retreat, a message spread across subspace communication channels to every corner of the galaxy. The impossible had happened. The Hegemony Empire had been defeated. The humans had won. Pilot Jiwoo was 18 years old and had been flying combat missions for exactly 3 days when she received the most important assignment of her life. Her fighter, the Lightning, was barely holding together. The left engine was dead, the shields were offline, and half her weapon systems had been destroyed in the battle. But she was still flying, and that was all that mattered. "Lightning, this is Admiral Daeho," came the transmission from the flagship. "I need you to make one final run at the Emperor's ship. The bridge section is damaged but still functional." Jiwoo looked at her tactical display. The Emperor's flagship was surrounded by the wreckage of the battle. Broken ships, debris clouds, and the bodies of thousands of warriors from both sides. The alien vessel was wounded but not dead. "Sir, my ship won't survive another attack run," she reported honestly. "I know," Admiral Daeho replied, his voice heavy with the weight of command. "I'm not asking you to survive, pilot. I'm asking you to end this war." Jiwoo understood. She was being asked to die for Earth, for humanity, for the freedom of every human being who would ever live. She thought about her parents in the underground shelters, about her little brother who collected pictures of spaceships, about the blue and white world hanging in space behind her. "Copy that, Admiral," she said calmly. "Beginning final attack. Run." The Lightning accelerated toward the Emperor's flagship, its damaged engine trailing smoke and sparks. Around her, the remains of the human fleet provided covering fire, their weapons lighting up space as they tried to clear a path for her approach. Emperor Vectar had survived the destruction of his bridge and was now commanding his ship from the secondary control center. His 4 eyes burned with rage as he watched the small human fighter approaching. "All weapons, target that fighter," he ordered. "I want it destroyed immediately." The Emperor's ship opened fire with everything it had left. Plasma beams cut through. Space like deadly lightning, each one capable of vaporizing Jiwoo's small fighter instantly. But Jiwoo had been flying since she was old enough to reach the controls. She had learned to pilot ships in the asteroid belts, where one wrong move meant death. She twisted and rolled through the weapons fire with moves that seemed impossible. "Come on," she whispered to her dying ship. "Just a little further." The Lightning took hit after hit. Pieces of its hull flew off into space. Warning alarms screamed in the cockpit as system after system failed. But Jiwoo kept flying, her neural interface keeping the broken fighter under control through pure willpower. "This is Jiwoo to all human forces," she transmitted as her ship began its final approach. "Tell everyone back on Earth, we kept our promise. We didn't kneel." The Emperor saw her coming and knew what was about to happen. The human pilot was going to ram his ship, just like so many others had done during this impossible battle. "Stop her!" he screamed at his weapons crews. "Destroy that ship!" But it was too late. The Lightning punched through the Emperor's shields and crashed directly into the secondary command center. The explosion tore through the alien ship's remaining systems, finally killing Emperor Vector and destroying the last command structure of his flagship. Fleet Commander Rathel watched from his cruiser as the Emperor's ship went dark and began to drift helplessly through space. The most powerful ruler in the galaxy was dead, killed by an 18-year-old human girl who had been flying for 3 days. All ships, he transmitted to the remains of his fleet. This is Fleet Commander Rathul. Emperor Vector is dead. The flagship is destroyed. We are withdrawing from this system immediately. Sir, protested one of his captains, we still have numerical superiority. We could continue the attack. No, Rathul said firmly. Have you not been watching this battle? These humans don't fight like any species we've ever encountered. They don't surrender when they're outnumbered. They don't retreat when they're outgunned. They just keep fighting until they win or until there's nothing left of them to fight. He looked at the tactical display showing the wreckage of hundreds of ships. And somehow they won. As the alien fleet began its retreat, Admiral Deho stood, alone on the bridge of Terran Pride. Around him, his bridge crew worked to coordinate rescue operations and damage assessments. The cost of victory had been terrible. Sir, Captain Minho reported quietly, final casualty reports are coming in. We've lost over half our fleet and most of our orbital defenses. 60,000 military personnel killed in action. Deho nodded, grimly. Each number represented someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend who would never come home. And the aliens? Estimates suggest they lost over 400 ships and their entire command structure. Sir, this is the first major defeat the hegemony has suffered in over a century. Admiral Deho looked out at the blue and white world that still hung peacefully in space. Earth was safe, but the price had been paid in blood and sacrifice. On Earth's surface, President Jae-sung emerged from the underground command center to address his people. The message was broadcast to every human settlement in the solar system, from the orbital stations to the lunar colonies to the mining outposts in the asteroid belt. My fellow humans, he began, the alien fleet has retreated. Earth is safe. He paused, letting the words sink in. But our victory came at a terrible cost. Thousands of our people gave their lives to protect our world and our freedom. He looked directly into the camera, his voice carrying the weight of a species that had just proven itself on the galactic stage. Today we sent a message to every empire, every hegemon, every would-be conqueror in the galaxy. We told them that Earth is not for sale, not for rent, and definitely not for taking. We told them that humans bow to no emperor and kneel to no master. The president's voice grew stronger. But more than that, we showed every enslaved species watching that resistance is possible. We proved that freedom is worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. News of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. On 1,000 conquered worlds, subject species looked up at their alien overlords with new expressions. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated the hegemony empire. On the planet Zerion, where the people had been slaves for 3 centuries, an old resistance leader named Keth Ara heard the news and smiled for the first time in decades. If humans can do it, she said to her followers, so can we. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as the news spread. The empire that had seemed invincible was suddenly vulnerable. The humans had shown that even the greatest power could be defeated by those who refused to surrender. Fleet Commander Rathul's report to the Hegemony Council was simple and direct. Earth is closed. The humans have made it clear that any attempt To conquer their world will result in massive casualties for minimal gain. I recommend we avoid their territory entirely. The Council, shocked by the first major military defeat in their history, agreed. An official decree was issued. Human space was to be considered off-limits to all hegemony forces. But the damage to the Empire's reputation was irreversible. Across the galaxy, conquered species began to rebel. The myth of hegemony invincibility had been shattered by a species that had been flying in space for less than a century. President Jae-sung's final address to the United Nations was broadcast live to every corner of Earth. He stood before the assembly in New Geneva, his words carrying the voice of an entire species. "Today we proved something important," he said. "We proved that the size of the fleet matters less than the size of the heart. We proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons, it's our refusal to give up." He looked around the assembly hall, seeing the faces of representatives from every nation on Earth. "We are human. We endure. We protect our own, and we never ever give up. Today, the galaxy learned what that means." The applause that followed could be heard in the underground shelters, in the orbital stations, and in the hearts of every human who had lived through the battle for Earth's freedom. In the weeks that followed, delegations from dozens of alien species arrived at Earth seeking alliance, trade agreements, and military assistance. The humans who had been considered primitive newcomers just days before were suddenly the most respected military force in the galaxy. But Earth's response to these overtures was consistent. Humanity would defend itself and help others who sought freedom, but it would never seek to conquer or rule over other species. Admiral Dae-ho, promoted to Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces, put it simply in his first interview after the battle. "We didn't fight to become an empire. We fought to remain free. Earth is open to friends, closed to enemies, and deadly to anyone who threatens our independence." The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humanity was small, young, and technologically inferior to many species. But they possessed something that no amount of advanced technology could replicate: the absolute refusal to surrender their freedom. Earth had spoken, and the message was clear: try us again if you dare.